You know, one of these cameras, which have all been released this year, are all really good, but one of them, without a doubt, is my favorite of the year, and it might be your favorite too. But here's the thing. Is something like the brand new DJI Osmo Pocket 3 even going to be relevant in 2024? Let's kind of talk about these cameras. Let's go. All right, I'm going to roll up the sleeves here for this. We're going to start with the GoPro Hero 12. I love GoPros. It's the GoPro Hero 12 Black, brand new one. It's got HDR video mode in it. Yeah. With the exception of making a whole bunch of videos around this camera this year, I haven't really used it at all. Now, I know you're just thinking, you're like, why? This is the smallest camera. This will absolutely fit anywhere you want it. And it's easy functionality. Yeah, and the image stabilization is phenomenal. And the image quality is really, really good too. But GoPro really haven't done much with the model. I know it's every 4 iterations of GoPro that seem to change it up. So probably the GoPro Hero 13 Black will be a reinvention of the wheel possibly. But for me, nah. This is the Sony ZV-E1. This is the most expensive out of all of these. I've carboned? See, this one take wonder stuff. This is a Viltrox 16mm lens, which is probably the best lens for vlogging. However, it's very big, it is very heavy, and it nearly broke my heart on a vacation in New York, but still, for the best image quality, amazing. This camera, 4K 120. It basically is this camera that I've been shooting this video on right now. That's the Sony FX3. This is kind of a baby-ish version. Don't freak out, FX3 owners. But it's got the exact same sensor. It has overheating problems, according to the internet. I have yet to experience any overheating on this, except when it came to live streaming via USB. And other than that, this thing is absolutely phenomenal. Not only is the autofocus the latest iteration of Sony's autofocus, which I think is the best on the planet, this thing has shot a whole bunch of videos for me, and it is portable-ish enough with the right lens, and it is just amazing. It's got the Cinetone color picture profile, PP11. That color profile comes straight out of Sony's Venice color science. Sony's Venice is the cinema camera that they have, the Venice and the Venice 2. Top Gun Maverick, all of those big movies have been shot in that. But I can't say anything bad about this camera. It's a beast. It's kind of a daily driver for me almost. And the only downside is it's the cost. It's a full frame sensor. So the nearest thing to this probably on the Sony line would be the ZV-E10. This is full frame, that's APS-C. So the cost is significantly more. But at the same time, you could also argue that you pay for what you get. To me, this is amazing. I've actually used this more than the Sony FX3. And the Sony FX3 cost at least twice this. But anyway, everything's good about it. Cannot fault this camera. But it may be out of the realms of possibility for some folks because it is pricey. And not everybody wants to get into an interchangeable lens camera. Personally, for me, I love the look that you can get from different lenses. The 16mm, this Viltrox is a super wide. You get a 75 or an 80mm, which you get that beautiful compressed look. But either way, I'm just gonna put this to here for now. That leads me on to this. This is actually my daily driver. Your phone is everybody's daily driver. This is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is just another iPhone. However, Apple did make a couple of changes this time round, and it gave us a USB-C port, which is all well and good. Now, what does that do? You're like, oh, we've had USB-C ports for years. Yes, we have. However, not only do you have ProRes recording on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Pro, we've had that for a while, but now you get 4K 60. Now, ProRes is essentially, the file sizes are huge. There's little to zero compression depending on the version of ProRes that you use. The Blackmagic camera app gives you all kinds of functionality around that. However, you do need an external hard drive to record 4K 60 if you want that buttery smooth 4K slow motion. And you can shoot in Apple Log as well, which is great. You're using the Blackmagic camera app, you don't need the external hard drive, but you're going to run out of space real quick because ProRes files can be astronomical. Now, as a side note, this is the Small Rig Brandon Lee collab, which is the best cage for the iPhone 15 Pro. It's amazing. These handles. So from a filmmaking perspective, look at, I mean, you can just put these wherever you want and get whatever motion you want. It's amazing. Now, I did buy the little hard drive mount up there because that's probably the only design flaw of this, is you do need a little right angle adapter to get the most, and you have the handle thing. It's not the end of the world. It's more of an iPhone thing. But anyway, best cage in the market. So I digress. But for filmmaking, this is where it's at on the iPhone. But I have shot less video on the iPhone 15 Pro Max than all of these other cameras combined. I don't know why. Even though Apple Log, it just gives an amazing looking video. For me, sometimes it's like, oh, you're shooting video on a phone. That doesn't matter. That's just me. Most internet content is shot on phones anyway. I just not too sold. And to get the most out of it, you're going to run out of space real quick, or you do need the rig, and that's not practical in a lot of cases. The price is also not practical for me. I sell my phone every year and I buy the new one, so the new phone only costs like $200 or whatever, and that's fine. But the quality out of it is phenomenal, and the actual camera for photography, out of all of these, it's the best. Without a doubt, it is the best. But for video, it is probably one of the best as well, but I just don't find myself using it as much as I thought. But that leads me on to this, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. No doubt some of you are here for this camera. You have turned up for this camera, so thank you. Hopefully you've learned a few things and tricks along the way. But this is probably not going to compete with this on price. Definitely not going to compete with this on price in the Sony ZV-E1. But let's bring back in the GoPro. So these two, very similar. Okay, this does 5.3K, this does 4K. I know there's some of you going, I don't have the 5K TV, Matt. You don't need a 5K for TV. The point of having 5.3K or 8K or 12K or whatever K is that you can crop in. Calm down, Vic. Is that you can actually crop in and post and not lose any quality, so you can reframe stuff. I guarantee you a lot of your favorite movies or TV shows are shot in 8K and they just crop in and post and they reframe the scene. But anyway, I digress. Not for everybody. So that's one advantage this has over that. The other thing here is that there is no moving parts. This is kind of built like a tank. This is fragile. If you drop here, this part up here at the top, that can break the screen. Love the screen, but you know, it's like one fall away from disaster. This has electronic image stabilization. So GoPro's hyper smooth iteration, whatever one it is, I don't know, is it 6 or 7? It's phenomenal. So your footage is always going to look really, really smooth when you have this thing on. I mean, it's insane. However, that comes with a caveat, a big one actually, because when it comes to using a GoPro in low light, as something fell off my face, when it comes to using a GoPro in low light, it struggles hugely unless you put it on a gimbal, which kind of defeats the purpose of this is the smallest camera here and it's the most portable, because electronic image stabilization needs a lot of light, it needs a faster shutter speed, and it needs to, I guess, really, in layman's terms, to see the scene. And if it can't see what it's really shooting, it's not knowing what to stabilize. So low light footage out of the GoPro, especially if it's moving, is average to below average. There's no two ways about it. GoPros do not do well in low light at all. It's not to say it's bad, but no. Now, this does incredibly well in low light. For a tiny, tiny camera, for a tiny sensor, this is better in low light than this in my opinion, not this. But here's the thing. You cannot fail to get smooth footage at low light with this, because it's got an actual mechanical gimbal. It's not relying on an algorithm to, like this, to smooth out the footage. So low light, no light, doesn't matter. This will always have smooth footage. That's the way the gimbal works. It's mechanical. It's like bouncing up and down as you're moving around. Simple as. So this beats this. Ultimately, they've all got, let's be honest, we've all got log profiles here if that's your thing. We've all got 4K 120. well, 1080, 120 on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But other than that, GoPro for me, it's just not a runner. I don't think GoPros ever will. I gotta be honest, I'm not using a GoPro the way they're really designed. I haven't really used that much at all, to be honest. But again, sell old GoPro, buy new GoPro, teach you guys how to use it. That's rinse and repeat for me. And maybe stick it on the bodyboard when I'm flailing around. Like, yeah, okay. So that leads me to these three, which phone is gone. Without a doubt, the phone is gone simply because I just have not shot enough video with it. I just find it cumbersome for the best part. It's still a phone. Maybe that's an old boomer thing. Now, for me, image quality, everything, the Sony ZV-E1 is at the top of the pile. But value for money, this is an expensive camera and it may be out of a lot of people's budget. So this leaves this, or am I going to go back? Don't buy the creator bundle for this, by the way. It's overpriced. You don't need the bells and whistles it comes with. But I think for value for money, for quality, for me, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is my favorite camera of the year. But here's the thing, and this camera does one thing that all the others do not do. And if you're a beginner or even a pro, it makes life so much easier. To get all these smooth cinematic orbit shots and all that kind of stuff, you can do all of those on the other pile of cameras and stuff there, but it's reliant on you keeping something center frame while you're going around. This, you just double tap on the object and it'll track it, and the algorithm, the computer sorts it all out. So that gives you amazing footage. For me, this is the best bang for buck for 2023. It has everything anybody would want. The only disadvantage really is you're stuck with the lens. That's it. You can't have a telephoto lens while you can zoom in. The zoom is fine. You don't get that compression. It's 2.0 lens, so you do get that blurry background. But compared to the other one, I mean, there's nothing better than putting a different lens on a camera for me. But for most of the folks out there who are obsessed with buying new cameras or new gear just because you think it'll help you make better content, it doesn't. Remember that. It's not the gear that makes the content, it's you. All of these will only help you tell the story, but from image quality, for functionality, most importantly, price point, Osmo Pocket 3 is absolutely my favorite camera of 2023. I love it, but I also love this one an awful lot as well. So if budget was no option, this. But when it comes to best bang for buck, this. And speaking of bang for buck around the Osmo Pocket 3, if you want to figure out how to use it properly, if you're getting it for the holidays or getting it as a gift for yourself or for somebody else, this video, that will teach you everything.